Yeah, there's not exactly an a priori clear explanation or notion of what natural is to every single person. I mean, what does it mean? I mean, does it mean every single phenomenon that occurs is natural? If so, then anything is good. Death
Yeah.
is good. And in fact, you could even
Rape.
argue that death is more prevalent in nature than life. You could possibly argue. So on that basis, we ought to be just total nihilists and completely embrace death. I mean,
Yeah.
that's essentially the sort of evolutionary Luciferian type worldview, which says that death is just as or greater than life. These two principles are in nature. They're dialectically connected, so they're just as necessary as one another. So death is an awesome thing. But what's unique about Christianity, in particular Orthodoxy, is that it sees death as the enemy. It teaches resurrection, and death is not something to be feared. It's actually transformed, St. Athanasius says, into a means by which we can achieve life. And the transhumanist movement is the inverse of that, where they're going to try to say we can overcome death through technology. I think it's a lie. It's a deception.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, we're gonna transcend everything through becoming a part of Google. Are you kidding me? We're gonna join Google and Apple and put them into our bodies and become that, and we're gonna free ourselves from all the shackles of reality. Yeah, dude, you got to listen to the Ben Gertzel talk with Joe Rogan. There's some
Okay.
sections of that are pretty interesting. I think it's 2 hours or so. You can watch it on. They talk kind of slow, so you could probably do 1.5 speed. But I think you'd like that talk because it gets into a lot of this transhumanist stuff. But
Yeah,
it
we'll listen
amazes
to
me
that.
how ready my generation seems to be to just kind of give up what it is to be human. I mean, especially in the big cities.
Humans are the problem.
All right. All right. So like you see this in a lot of this comes out of L.A., San Francisco, London, and I think a big thing that we're going to see and that we hopefully do see, and something that can kind of push up against this. We use the hashtag Eat Meat Make Families, right? Like we also use hashtag Bald Man Bad because obviously Bald Man Bad and Eat Meat Bad. You know, all the standard NPC sayings that you see from the vegans. They're highly intelligent critiques. But I think, rural life, like living in areas where you're actually connected to the processes of, feeding your family, can be very liberating for a lot of us. So, I mean, part of why I push against the vegan agenda is selfish because I want my children to be able to live the life that we're trying to set up for them here right now, where they are connected to the land, where my daughter goes down and does battle with a rooster every morning who she's scared shitless of because he harasses her every day. But, the life that we like to promote is not, this city bound, join the Borg, become a YouTube star and become an Instagram model. I think that's not the answer, guys. I think we have to
Right.
go not backwards in like a Luddite way, but we need to get connected to the source of our food, go to farmers markets, local community, bolstering that. But yeah, what do you think about that, man? A resurgence
Well, I think
of
it's another
rural life.
example. It's another example of the absurdity and contradictions that are present in the postmodern transhuman worldview, the post-human worldview, which is that on the one hand, we're told that nature should be exalted and basically worshipped, the natural world, so to speak. And on the other hand, we're told that it's fallen, it's broken, and it has to be overcome and fixed.
Yeah.
So how is it worshipped, and at the same time we got to transcend it because it's the creation of some blind idiot god, and it needs to be transcended and overcome. So at every point in that worldview, it's nothing but contradiction, 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 right? I mean, we're supposed to worship femininity, we're supposed to worship the goddess, but also those things don't exist. Femininity, the idea of genders don't exist. So it's nothing but constant doublethink, and to me that suggests that not only are they not able to accurately interpret what community should be, they can't accurately interpret what natural quote unquote living should be. So yes, I think you are correct. The city, the mega city, the megalopolis has for a long time been itself a means of social engineering. It's a way to get people connected into a giant hive in a false sense of community. Because the irony is that people that live in the megalopolises who think that they're sophisticated, they're oftentimes completely alienated. People that live in these giant They live in these giant cities and they're miserable. In fact, the sociologists like Emil Durkheim 100 years ago, they wrote papers on how people that lived in giant cities were, I think he called it anomie or something like that. He could just total alienated listlessness. They had no connections to anybody because the only thing they had in common was the products they purchased.
Right, and going back to the critique of the whole, we go back to nature, and nature is this and that. Like, if you can't define where nature ends and man-made begins, then please shut up, because you're just spouting a bunch of nonsense. And
the megalopolis is just as much nature as the Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. How is it not natural for human beings to make technology? It's like, if it's natural for the same people that will be spouting, the revival of primitivism, let's go back to just being nomadic, wandering cannibal tribes. These same people just wander around cities their whole life, talking on iPhones anyways. But they're LARPing, right? So the same people are LARPing, and they live in the biggest cities in the world. But what is natural? Why they'll say, oh well, it's not. It's natural to to sacrifice an animal and drink its adrenalized blood. Every culture has done this. There's nothing wrong with it. It's the same mind state. It's the same mindset and the same philosophy that drives the neopagan revival as drives the SJW movement.
Exactly.
There's no difference. It's like Vegan Gains philosophy is the same philosophy as a lot of the people I see in the comment section saying, let's revive Odinism and also let's be vampiric and drink human blood because it's consensual, it's cool, it's all good. Non-aggression principle. If you drink human blood,
and you see this system promoting veganism and cannibalism at the same time. Exactly.
Absolutely, and that's people get confused. Well, why would they promote veganism, cannibalism? Well, veganism isn't the end game. The end game is just total control of all resources and lab-grown meat. They know you can't live off a vegan diet, so it's the wing of the dialectic. The other end is the corporate-controlled lab-grown meat structure. So I think that's what people get confused. It's like, oh, you think the world's going to be all vegan? No, it's going to be mostly plant-based, and you're going to be eating a little bit of meat that comes out of a freaking laboratory and that Bill Gates genetically modified to feed you, because that's sustainable.
Right.
So yeah, I guess
that's a great point. That's a great point.
There. Now, when you look at the funding of all this, it all comes from the same NGOs too.
Same people, yeah. And the same elites are saying that like those globalist books in Arthur Kessler's Ghost in the Machine, he says, look, human beings practice cannibalism for centuries. It's just as natural as not eating humans.
Yeah.
And then he can go on later to agree with all the other globalists and say, we'll give you a plant-based synthetic meat diet.
Yeah, no, the cannibalism thing, people think I'm crazy when I say that the mainstream media pushes cannibalism, but it's all right in front of their face. Richard Dawkins said it. I know you've retweeted him. Didn't he tweet? Do you know the quote from Richard Dawkins about cannibalism?
Vice magazine has done a whole bunch of things on how cannibalism isn't crazy. Maybe we should rethink it. There have been some of the globalists talk about how maybe we can figure out a way to recycle human meat. All these crazy ideas. A lot of the pop artists talk about cannibalism and eating humans. It's not as bad as you think. It's not taboo.
Yeah, they put it in music videos, right? Didn't Katy Perry make a video about cannibalism?
There's a Katy Perry one talking about it. Now you could say, oh, but she's just joking. It's just joking. But no, but actually they will look at Vice magazine. Vice magazine has put out like 20, maybe not 20, 5, 10 articles about how it's cool, it's great, and all the millennials read Vice, right? So nothing wrong with eating humans. Plenty of tribes do it. What's wrong with it? It's natural. It's primitive. Tribes do it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, there's so many. It's funny because you wouldn't have expected 10 years ago for diet to become a ground for theological argumentation. Like diet is now becoming like one of these things that is bringing morality and the conversation about ethics and theology.
Let's see. Okay. I just Googled cannibalism is good. Here's Gizmodo has an article saying cannibalism is good. Here's SciTech magazine. Is cannibalism really that bad? Medical news. Cannibalism can be bad.
Can be.
Let's see. NPR. Cannibalism is perfectly natural.
That's natural. There you go.
Listen to this. National Geographic. Cannibalism, it is ultimately taboo, but it's very common. Let's see. Is cannibalism wrong? Question. There's another article. This is from debate.org. So we're supposed to debate it now. Wired magazine, debate. Is it wrong to eat people? Vox magazine, which is total social justice warrior. 7 surprising facts about cannibalism. Oh, it's not as bad as you think. Oh, here we go. Live Science magazine. Could eating the old solve our food crises? Told you.
Spoiler, yes. What about babies?
Smithsonian magazine. New study fleshes out the nutritional value of eating humans.
Wow. Right. So, I mean, this is the thing. Is it's like a lot of these people, they talk about the problems. They talk about, oh, well, it's not natural, or it is natural. Or some people might say, well, everything is natural. Anything that you're, if you're like a biological determinist or something, well, if your DNA allows it, whatever your DNA allows, that's natural. So, creating technology, creating an AI god, this is all natural. This is all good. It's kind of it's kind of silly. Right, it's like everything is natural that you can do in the physical world. It's basically saying, like,
well, you can breed 2 different animals that can't have offspring. Does that mean it's natural?
Right.
Well, they would say, yeah, but I mean, you can produce sterile offspring from breeding different species. So just because a species can breed, it doesn't follow that it's therefore helpful or progressive for that species to do so.
It's like when you say something's natural, it means that it doesn't break the so-called laws of physics, right? It's like as long as if physics allows it, it must be morally permissible. I don't know, man. It's going to be crazy to see what happens. Technology really is rebuilding all of civilization right now. I don't know about technology isn't rebuilding it, but through technology, all of civilization is being reworked. And I think these types of conversations about like where we're going with this, what we really believe, what is right and wrong, what should, could and can and will we do is really important. And we need to be discussing.
Well, the scary thing about it is too, I'll add this, is that there's kind of a, like you kind of get what you bargain for. Like, for example, over the years, like if I've talked about the dangers of getting all these vaccines that they talk about getting, a lot of people will get mad. I've had so many people over the years get mad at me and say, "Oh, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist." And I would never, even if that's true, I don't want to know it because I can't live in a world that's that dark. And how are you not like miserable every day and going crazy and sad because the world's really that crazy and dark? Mm-mm. Well, here's the thing: if you choose not to listen to these things and go your own route, and you want to be blue pill and accept the system, you don't escape. Like, you get what you pay for. You get the consequences of accepting that diet. You get the consequences of the vaccines. So the people who don't listen to us, they really get what they pay for. I mean, it's not, and I'm not saying that with pleasure, but I'm saying that the system is in a way almost set up to where if you're not strong enough or able or willing to figure this stuff out, then you're going to be your own demise. You're going to be your own sterilization. I'm not saying that's good. I'm saying that's the reality of how it is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's like we build our own nest and we got to sleep in it. Exactly. And that's kind of what's so freaky about this cultural push towards all this madness and towards all this nonsense. And part of why, we decided to make a move out into a rural area where we could afford to live a lifestyle that we wanted to live and where there were like-minded people around. It's like I don't want to live in California for many reasons. No kinship do I have with the average Californian, right? It's a totally fragmented, isolated society. And the average person doesn't know their neighbors, right? It's like people are and there are rural communities in California, but it's very difficult to live in an area. But some of these vegan advocates, you got like Rich Roll. He lives in one of the best areas of California, in Malibu Canyon, and his house didn't burn down in the fire because it was being protected by during the massive wildfire. So Rich Roll's out there promoting veganism. This is the way to do it. It's crazy. It's like it's this disease of affluence. You see, you don't see there's no vegans in my rural community in Ecuador.
I almost view it in a weird, I mean, not literally, but kind of in a tongue-in-cheek prophetic way that when I was out there, it was 2 weeks before the fires. And so Topanga Canyon's right next to Malibu. So I was speaking at that big hippie event. And I was I don't know if you saw my tweet about this, but I was at Yeah, I was at the Westworld set, so it's where they film Westworld, which is about the bots rebelling and overtaking the humans, by the way.
Yep.
And the whole set 2 weeks later just completely burned down. Like, it's all gone.
Yeah.
I almost saw it like, kind of a weird, almost apocalyptic, not literally apocalyptic, but in a little localized, rhetorical sense.
It's like if you were writing the story, you would have known that meant something in the greater context of the story. Yeah, I've had a lot of things like that happen to us since we left.
Like, I'm there talking to all these hippies, and it wasn't a huge crowd. I probably had 50, 60 people listening to me, but there's all these hippies walking around, and I'm like, man, this is all social engineering. It's all a trap. Don't listen to this, fake counterculture. It's a trap. And then 2 weeks later, the whole thing burns down.